Balls In has been ruined. Tori bests Amanda again. Godfather vs. Pitbull. Katie, the MMA star. Olivia and Nurys don't hate each other. Cara and Laurel definitely do. 8 elims in 70 minutes is a lot to breeze through, and Theo rocks Paulie's world and then some. It's The Challenge Battle of the Eras episode 2 recap coming up right now. What up, my fellow challenge lovers? Welcome to The Challenge Historian, where we dive deep into all things MTV's The Challenge, past, present, or future. If it's happening in the Challenge universe, we are here to document it. I am your host and dedicated challenge historian, Jacob Paulie. Thank you so very, very much for being here with me today on this Friday, a couple days after episode 2 has aired. I appreciate your patience as anticipated and expected, and even said last week, this episode coming to you a couple days late as I flew back to the U.S. yesterday. Had a little difficulty watching the episode right on time. Thankfully stayed mostly spoiler free out on those internet streets. Was able to watch this morning, finally get all caught up and check out some of the things out there on social that has happened since the episode, that has been said since the episode. And now we're bringing you your recap. So appreciate your patience and apologies if the voice sounds a little nasally or a little off today. Definitely that post-vacation, post-trip, post-13-hour, technically 31-hour day yesterday with the time change from Paris to Chicago. I have a little bit of a sickness going on, a little bit of a throat thing. So if I sound a little different today, that is why. We're going to power through this, though, because there is a lot to cover. 8 eliminations plus multiple twists plus all kinds of other stuff to cover. We're going to do just that. Programming reminders: next week we will be back to our regular Wednesday night podcast recap releases. I will watch the episode live and then put my notes, put my thoughts together, pod right afterwards, and get that out to you late Wednesday night. So it'll be there for you on Thursday mornings. And hopefully that is the case the rest of the season. We will see. Some other travel is coming up in the future, but none that should impact when I'm able to watch and record. So Wednesday night, Thursday mornings, expect for the foreseeable future. No other podcast plans or video plans in the immediate future here the next couple of weeks. The only other challenge-related thing going on right now is I will be attending, as always, Challenge Mania Chicago is a week from tomorrow. So if any of you listening out there happen to be going to Challenge Mania Chicago, definitely hit me up. Come say what up. I would love to see you or meet you at that event. Otherwise, that's all for the foreseeable future. Agenda for right now here tonight. We're going to start with a couple high-level thoughts on the 2-episode premiere, the Era Invitational, and then I will get into one-by-one thoughts on each of the 8 eliminations that we see to kind of walk through the episode. We'll hand out some awards, and we'll make a new batch of predictions at the end. If you're ready, I'm ready. Thanks for being here. Subscribe, rate, review, all those good things. Love and appreciate you. Episode 2, Battle of the Eras. Here we go. Kicking things off with a couple high-level thoughts on the Era Invitational, the 2-episode premiere, really in the 3-episode premiere, because I count the launch special, as an episode. 3-episode premiere, essentially, that we've gotten here. And I'm not going to bury the lead. I did not love this episode. I did not totally love how they ended up going about breaking this down, in that we end up with episode 2 being 8 eliminations, breezing through them real quick because you only got, they even had bonus time. They cut out a couple of the commercial breaks here. And so we got 71 minutes, I believe, out of the 90-minute window was actually, 71-minute episode essentially is still not a lot of time for 8 eliminations and some of the voting and backstory and different things for each of them. I didn't love overall the entire structure of all of this 3 episodes in. It feels like they are going for headlines and not storylines to me. And what I mean by that is, yes, the captions of the social posts sound cool when you're like, oh my God, the greatest night of eliminations ever. That sounds amazing. The most eliminations ever in one episode. That sounds amazing. All of the iconic eliminations in one episode sounds amazing. Like, all of that looks really cool on an Instagram post, on a Twitter post, anything of that nature. But an entire episode of 8 eliminations doesn't necessarily make for like great TV all the way through. It was good. I enjoyed myself, but every single flash to the house, I was more interested in that than the eliminations themselves. And we got so little of that because we only have so much time, and they were doing this huge endeavor and trying to cram it into one episode. I know it's crazy to say, but like just make it 3 episodes. And really, I mean, 4 counting the launch special. But if you want an 18 episode order out, then like, and you don't want the 3-month filming schedule that comes with that, that's been a little bit of the complaint of the last era of the show, the double agents, spies, lies, and allies, etc., is like they have to be 18 90-minute windows now is what we're trying to hit. And so it takes 3.5 months to film because they're there forever. And it's like, okay, well, like, I'm not opposed to 18 episodes, and but I'm sure many of the cast members are opposed to that long of a shoot, and production might be opposed to that long of a shoot. So like these first 3 days that we've seen in the house, it can be 4 episodes. Why not? Like you could have done 4 eliminations here and 4 next week and had much more of what actually went down at the house woven in more there, and I would be totally fine with that. The fact that you would get 4 episodes, again, I'm counting the launch special when I say that, out of 3 nights in the house would be incredible, as far as like we get as many episodes as we want, tons and tons here, without it requiring the cast to be there all that much, because there's 40 of them to go around. There's plenty to show that is going down in that house, I'm sure, that we are never going to see but hear plenty about, because this cast is very talkative, which I am thankful for. And overall, it just kind of makes me nervous for the season because, again, I'm not saying this wasn't a good episode and that the first 2 and 3 now, counting the launch special, haven't been enjoyable and good. But it's only been that for me, like the B level. If you are familiar with my grading scale from the recent franchise recaps, B is still in the good tier. It's in the good tier, but it's not the great tier. It is not anywhere close to the all-time tier. And I'm nervous that it's not going to get higher from here, that this, with the convoluted format stuff we've already been alluded to or told about, the things may stay here at best, if not drop even further. We will see. Time will tell. I'm holding out hope. I'm trying to be as optimistic as possible, but I will say before we get into the elimination by elimination breakdown, I didn't love one full episode of just 8 eliminations, rushing through them, especially with some of them like, I want a little more room for Tony versus Leroy to breathe. I want a little more room for Paulie and Theo and Olivia and Nurys to breathe a little bit, to get a little more. I did like the 2 at once of Era 2's version there of Take Shelter. But yeah, so don't love how the entire Era Invitational, how it all worked out. I get that we're trying to get rid of, we have 40 cast members. Let's get that number down quickly to start. I understand that. And I still had a good time. I still liked it. It was still good. I just don't want the rest of this podcast to be like, clearly it seems like he maybe didn't have the best time watching this. We got to get up front and say that that is correct. I didn't have the best time, by sure. Let's talk about each group, each era's elimination games, though. One thing it seemed like we saw flashes of, but they didn't actually show the drawing, which is one of many things where I was like, again, like if you wanted to split this and make it 2 episodes, I'm sure I would have found reasons to complain about that too, maybe, I'm not sure, but like I would have loved the 30 seconds of these are the 4 games that could be played, and go over there and draw one of the cards and see which one your era is playing, because it seems like that's what went down. If it's not, then maybe someone could fill me in. I'm sure cast members have talked about it, but they show them with the cards every once in a while. And so we get balls in for era number 3. And the first question I have is, what the hell happened to balls in? What have they done to this game? Because the new just get inside the circle portion, it's not balls in. It doesn't feel like balls in to me. It feels like a very different game. It feels much easier. And I'm assuming the reasoning behind that is like, we should make this maybe a touch easier on the offense or a touch safer. And so if it's a little more of like a wrestling match just to get to the middle versus like all of the collisions and the throwing on top of or right around the barrel, I don't know. But the only thing I could think of like why you would change it from the ball has to go in the barrel and nothing stops until the ball is either in the barrel or outside of the outer circle, then it would be like safety reasons. But like then we're still doing the real Hall Brawl, as we'll talk about later. So I don't get it totally why we can't do the OG Hall Brawl, the Abram versus Brad style that they show here, that it's Era 1's game. Hall Brawl was introduced. And if you don't remember, or you haven't watched my recap of that season, either time we have done it, it's one of the best eliminations of all time. They play continuous. It is fast. They throw the ball right back to Abe or Brad after each round, and it is like a continuous game. 5 goes each, 5 offense, 5 defense times for each, and it is aggressive and full contact, and there is no ring at all. Basically, it's just there's a barrel in the middle. You stand between it. I say go. The moment it is either scored or dead, we throw the ball to the other person and we're going again. And it is ruthless and intense and unbelievable. And I want that version. I don't want this. If you can just crawl your way to the middle circle, they have to let go of you and you can stand up and score. That just, I didn't love that at all. Nia versus Amanda. Fun. I'm tired of the Tori and Amanda thing. It's just kind of a storyline. We've had it enough. I'm over it. I think Amanda calling Tori toroids or bringing up steroid stuff is just gross and lame, and I don't like that at all. I think Tori is maybe a little too obsessed with combating Amanda, although I think production and editing is maybe causing me to think that, as they've caused me to think a lot of things in the past where it's like, well, the only thing, yeah, it's one of the things I talked about in there. It's the only thing they showed me talk about, so it seems that way. I don't know. I'm a little tired of that storyline. And I'm also tired of the eliminations being rigged. Cries from fans out there when their favorite person or cast member feels like they're getting robbed or helped or vice versa or anything like that. The eliminations are not rigged. I've done that many times. I'm not going to do it again, but especially this one, like this was clearly the plan all the way in. Like we're going to do these 4 games in the first round. Amanda ends up there. Has she gotten super unlucky in that clearly a physical size-based or strength-based elimination is not her forte, and she seems to have gotten more of those than anything else, and that someone like a Devin on her team has like only ever really gotten a lot of puzzles or kind of even ones and has not gotten thrown into a Hall Brawl or a Pole Wrestle. Sure, some people get lucky with these and some people do not. It is luck of the draw. These are very different games that can be played, and when you even in someone like a Devin or an Amanda's situation, play on 5 or 6 seasons of the show and end up in 6, 7 eliminations, like odds are some people are going to be like, wow, I got mostly eliminations that are good for me, or wow, I got mostly eliminations are bad, or you got somewhere in the middle of that. And so, yeah, I don't think anything was rigged against Amanda. I think she has shit luck when it comes to the elimination games she gets. This one, shout out to Nia, who actually was the only one that seemed concerned with getting the ball in the basket, not into the circle. Like she almost cost herself on the one where like she could have just slowed down and kind of fell, touched the circle, and been like, you got to let go and let me put it up and in. But she threw it down in, it bounced off, and then somehow stayed in bounds, and she went and got it, eventually got the point. But like almost cost her that she was like, I do this old school. We're going to put the ball in the hoop because we can. So shout out to her for that. And Amanda did more of that than the 2 guys certainly did. I think the only strategy, if you're smaller, is if you think you can be faster or have better endurance, I want to know, are you allowed to run full circles around the thing? Because it did seem like Amanda does a lot of back and forth and strays pretty far. It feels like the rules don't stop you from like, can I do a full circle? Can I run around this thing? And they're not allowed to touch me until I have stepped inside. Is Amanda allowed to just like run laps for 5 minutes and be like, I'm going to run circles until I think I can run longer than you. And the moment you get tired, I'm going to shift one way and I'm going to try to get by you. I don't know. Maybe that's not allowed. Maybe they're like, you could do that once and then be like, hey, okay, you have to like, you only have so much time until you make a move into the circle. I don't know, but if I'm way smaller in a matchup like this, it's my only strategy I could think of for Amanda was like, hey, run some laps. Maybe she gets tired. Maybe they let you do it, and then you can use your size and speed to an advantage, and your endurance to an advantage. Nia dominates her. Amanda gets the first basket after Nia kind of slips up and stops, Felt very Joss versus Derek-esque moment there, but thankfully for Nia, it was only the 1 round, the 1 point, and they were playing 2-2, and she easily got the win from there. Awesome work for her. Amanda is out of here. Tony versus Leroy. This one hurt to watch the most for me. I really didn't want to lose either of these two this quick, but if I had to pick, we got Leroy all the way to the final on All-Stars 4 and basically no Tony on All-Stars 4. So in fairness, I wanted to see Tony a little more, but I hate that Leroy and Cam were willing to make the sacrifice of like, you should go do this. You should be on this season because Leroy should be on this season. If Cam hadn't had a baby 2 weeks before they started filming, she would deserve to be on Era 4 just as much as Leroy deserves to be on Era 3. They are era-defining characters, absolutely. But it sucks that they made that sacrifice of like, you go do this 2 weeks after he was born. That's all good, and that it's that quick of an elimination. But hey, you get to go back to a brand new baby and your wife and your son, so that's awesome too. These two, Leroy and Tony, that is, if they would do the OG version of the game of like, this isn't get wrestled to the ground and just get that ball into the inner circle. This is like, you got to score the ball into the hoop or else. I think that would have been lights out. I think that would have been fun. Either way, Tony, very impressive performance. Roxley on that second run for sure. And I'm very glad that Tony Time is sticking around for the rest of I don't know, for the rest of the season. Who knows? But at least for another episode. Then there was the pole wrestle, Mark versus Derek. There's nothing really to mess up with pole wrestle, thankfully. So straightforward, good game. Loved every aspect of it. Loved that Era 1 got this. We get to see Derek in a pole wrestle. Always amazing. Derek versus Mark. Obviously pulling at the heartstrings a little, the best friend match up. Derek's experience won it for him. I think him understanding the moment they went both times, he was like, I got to dive into his chest, pull the thing to my chest, and lay on the ground. And that is an advantageous place to be where I have full control over this thing. And he pretty much controls as much as they flip around and do a bunch of different turns and everything. It's very entertaining, very good matchup. But Derek does seem to have the advantage basically at all times, both rounds. And while I believe Mark was 100% invested, I do think there's different kinds of 100% investment. And this is a version where Mark's like, this is my friend. My reputation and place in this world is secure. He's got a baby coming. It's maybe okay if I lose. I do think that is in there somewhere, not like explicit, not like I'm not going to try my hardest. I just think you mentally approach things differently depending on who you're playing and the scenario you are in. And I think Derek was maybe also able to overcome that a little bit better than Mark as well. And yeah, Derek comes out, gets the win. It's a great match. The flips, the slow-mo, all super fun. And it remains true. The idea of an actual pole, if we have power slap is somehow a thing that I guess still exists and is, I guess, getting super popular, where we have a new sport where people slap the shit out of each other / punch each other in the side of the head. This most ridiculous, dangerous thing can be this burgeoningly popular sport, then I don't know why there isn't a pole wrestle league out there. I think this would be amazing. And I think Derek should be the team captain of the first ever professional pole wrestle team. That would be great if some good YouTuber out there wants to start that sport and get that going. Anissa versus Katie. One question. There was a formatting question. What was with their starting position? Maybe it's weird camera angle. Maybe I should have went back and watched because I'm talking nonsense. I don't know. But it seemed like both times they started, instead of standing facing each other, standing face to face, chest to chest, shoulder to shoulder, they were standing side by side, shoulder to shoulder, both facing TJ, kind of each holding one end of the pole. But the second time especially, it felt like Anissa was basically holding it directly in front of her, and Katie was reaching over from the side, and that was the starting position. And it was what the hell's going on here? It seems a little advantageous to one person and not to the other. But yeah, I don't know. I need to go back and double check that. Hell of an effort by Katie. The leg lock around the neck. would have been kind of hilarious to see how they handled that if she like really went for it. Like they get the couple confessionals, you get the kind of still image. It looks funny. It looks amazing. It's like, oh my God, Katie, the MMA star here. What's she doing? She's about to choke Anissa out. And thankfully, because it would obviously really suck for Anissa if she was allowed to be put in a real chokehold, if Katie actually knew some MMA move or jujitsu, whatever, and was like, now I wrap my leg and now you can't breathe and now you let go of the pole. But it was still cool that was even like an image that we can pull of like, look at Katie going to every length. She puts up a great fight though. She hangs on, as Anissa does seem to have control and knows what she's doing the whole time here, never looks too vulnerable, but it's still a good showing from Katie, a great showing from Anissa. She gets the win. Good on her. She's got the most wins ever behind Cara, I think now, or tied with Cara, depending which shows you count, which ones you don't, et cetera, et cetera. That's very cool. And she remains this amazing contradiction, which is she is great at eliminations, where she has a high probability of getting a strength or size or strategy based game. She is good at daily challenges, medium probability of being a strength, size, or strategy based game, and horrible at finals, where there is a very low probability that strength, size have any positives. Usually there's a high probability that they actually have negatives, and that it's endurance and the strategy part is still there, but it's just so much more endurance based than anything. And so great at elims, average to good at dailies, and horrible at finals is just a complete contradiction in the game. And it remains that way. And I'm kind of tired of it. Makes this storyline that is compelling the first couple times we see it, of like, I am this really good player. I do deserve, but like, I'm great at the eliminations where you get kicked out of the game. And so you get those moments where like you win all these eliminations, 16 or whatever she's won, and then get to have this storyline of like, I'm going to get this done. One of these times I'm going to be champion. I know I could do it. And it's like, well, yeah, there was only one. She references like it should have happened before. It could have happened before. And there's only really one, Gauntlet 2, where they just completely botch the redone, kind of made up on the fly final that they have to do there, where they do the betting thing and they lose the first one. And it's like, now it's just over. Good chance to win there, those team seasons especially. But yeah, I'm tired of the storyline. It's very compelling the first few times, but we're on time like 7 or 8 of that being the story, after the first 6 or 7 seasons of Anissa, where that was a little bit part of the story in there too. And in a season with 40 people, and we can only spend so little time with everyone, that this storyline that we've seen many, many times over takes up a little chunk of this episode. I was just kind of like, it was similar to the Amanda Tori thing. It's like, I've seen this. This isn't the nostalgia kick that I needed. If we're going to replay storylines, these aren't ones I would have chosen. Then finally, we had Take Shelter. Not finally. Well, Take Shelter was last in the episode, but we're going to talk about it slightly out of order here. This game is not legendary the way the other threes are. It's a variation of a legendary game, my favorite elimination game, Not So Fast. So we did get the big 4, in my estimation, of eliminations. It counts, but I did just find it funny when they have to reference, like, one, they don't reference Not So Fast, which I just like the regular version of better. Maybe this is a better game. Maybe this is more compelling, but I kind of like the traditional version just with the rope a little bit better. I don't know. I could respect and like this game. I just had a good chuckle when he's like, this legendary game from Era 4 where, we had this incredible upset. And it's like, so it was played that one time in J beat CT. And so now it's the Era 4's representative in this. And you maybe can't reference Not So Fast because that debuted much earlier than Era 4. And so then it wouldn't fit the rest. It just, they were stretching a tiny, tiny bit, but I'm still glad we obviously got a version of Not So Fast, the best game ever. As far as who went in here, this is the only one I really want to comment on how people ended up here. I think Bananas screwed up putting in Cara. I think this was the absolute best case time for him to just be like, nah, Aviv's got to go in. He used to love doing the earn your stripes thing. To be like, Aviv, I know you're a champion. That's awesome, but you were here one season. It's been a very long time, so we kind of need to see it again. And Cara got second overall in the whole daily. Like, I'm not putting her in. I'm not putting Emily in. And, Cara, we could try to work together. We want this strong team. This will be great. So go in, Kellyanne and Aviv, whoever wins. It's great. You're both strong. Our team's going to be awesome. Let's try to be united here. No one else thinks we could do it. Go that route. And I think Bananas could have went that route. I don't think Laurel maybe had it in her to go that route, but I would have thought Bananas maybe did. And whether he's doing it because he just really does have that level of dislike for Cara, whether he just thinks it'll be a good storyline and it'll be better TV, I don't know. But I think that's the route he should have went. I think it was wide open because I think he and Laurel could have even, could have continued to have power within their team and been like, if we find out that we have to keep going against our own or that being a team isn't that important, then like we could throw Cara in next. I think we're going to keep having the power in those two hands more often than not on this team. And so, yeah, I think he should have went the other way. Anyways, they throw in Brandon and Cara. Let's talk Brandon and Ryan first. I feel bad for Brandon. He had a 75% chance of getting a game. He'd be the heavy favorite in. Again, back to the whole drawing thing. I assume they drew, again, which game they got to play. And when he walked in there, he had to be super pumped. Like, okay, I got a 3 out of 4 chance of this being a physical headbanger where I am not guaranteed to win by any means, but I am the favorite over Ryan. I like my odds in that. And he drew the one where it's like, now it's 50-50 toss-up. Who knows who's going to win? Endurance, maybe even Ryan's probably slight favorite here. And maybe that's just me playing the results, but I would think, endurance wise and just kind of experience knowledge wise, I don't know which one of them has seen this game more or if either of them have seen it. I don't know. Anyways, bummer for Brandon that's how it went. Awesome work by both. I'm glad Ryan got the win. I'm glad we get to keep him and Derek together because I think that helps Era 2 be more interesting and dynamic with Bananas and Laurel on one side that like Ryan and Derek are maybe not trying to work with them so much and maybe could sway Era 2 in another direction. I'm curious to see where Emily lines up because her and Bananas are good friends like outside the show still. It seemed like at least at one point. So very excited to see where the dynamics of that team go. Very glad Ryan coming back into the house, I think adds the most interest and intrigue to where the dynamics of that team could go, as does Cara and Kellyanne. First off, Kellyanne, you got to stop with the psychics, girl. Spend the money on anything else, mental health or personal development related. Couldn't be a bigger proponent of doing that. Psychics ain't it. I'm sorry. Either don't spend that money at all or spend it on some form of mental health or personal development, coaching, something of that nature. Not the psychics. I beg you. I don't think they're doing you any favors or your unbelievable dogs. Keep doing all the amazing things for your dogs and all animals, though. I love everything about that. And I loved this matchup. It was a great battle. Sometimes I don't believe when they say like it was, seconds away from this or, it was closer, especially on one like this, where as they do reference a couple times, like, we kind of don't know who's doing well or not well until it's just over. I actually did really believe in this one, like the setup and like Kellyanne's right there. And when she says afterwards, I think I was like 2 seconds away from getting in there. I do think it was that close. And they both, by the way, assuming Kellyanne was literally 2 seconds away from getting in there, which again, I do think was the truth. They both beat both the boys. And yeah, it stinks losing Kellyanne, but like it stinks losing everyone in this cast. And so I'm glad Cara's there. I wanted Cara to be there. She needs to be there. It is more interesting with her in the house for sure. And overall, it was very interesting to watch the 2 eliminations at once. That was a neat little thing. One part of this that I did like, that we did get to watch these 2 at the same time. Felt like that was an interesting wrinkle. Then, of course, the main event, the Hall Brawl. Olivia versus Nurys first. It's very solid. It's very good. It's enjoyable. It's juicy. Maybe it ends the beef. Maybe it doesn't. They clearly don't have the real hate for each other, though, which is a good thing. We should be happy about that. We should be happy for them that is the case. But how they play the game felt like, and it was referenced by many people in the confessional, of like, maybe they don't hate each other. Maybe they're just they are friends who played a game in opposition to each other and hurt some feelings and could come back from that at some point in the future. But if I'm either of them, I'm thrilled with the way they played the game, because me as someone watching and always just thinking like, if I had to play this, like Could I do it? Could I do Hall Brawl? I could do Hall Brawl. I would still be super intimidated by it, but if I knew there was some sort of wink wink agreement that like we're gonna do it where this way, the way Olivia and Nurys do, of we can hit each other as hard as you want, but we're gonna run straight up. We're not gonna get down into a tackle, anything. We're gonna collide chest to chest, and it's not gonna feel good, but like we're not gonna break anyone's neck over here. We collide chest to chest, and then we wrestle in place. Great. Still terrifies me, but I could do that. The version Paulie and Theo do of we're going to try to hit each other as hard as we can, head down. Someone's going to get really hurt here. I'm just going to be like, nah, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm going to begrudgingly get yelled at by TJ, but I don't know that I would be willing to do that. So I would be thrilled if I was Olivia or Nurys, either way, that they agreed to go this route of still very physical. As much as people complained the first round, the second round definitely was. The first round, they collided pretty good. They just both seemed to take the route of once we collide, I'm just getting out of this bell. And Olivia happened to, on the collision, get to the collision a little faster. So more on her side of things and, get out of the collision a touch faster to get to that bell. But I thought it was physical. I thought it was fun. I thought it was, we've seen it before. The one person's on the ground, the other one's standing, they're holding the foot. And sometimes that's just like, oh, my shoe comes off and I touch the button and like, what are you doing down there? What are it's so silly. And other times somehow it gets reversed. In this situation, it gets reversed in that second round where it's like, wait a minute, is Nurys going to pull this out and tie it up? And then suddenly, no. And now instead of Nurys standing and Olivia on the ground, suddenly out of nowhere, it is now Olivia standing, Nurys on the ground, and Olivia is pressing the button and it's over. So that's how that went down. I think Horacio without Nurys will be more interesting in the house, how he plays without her there. And I think Olivia will bring a little more drama or just interesting inter-team dynamics in alliances than maybe Nurys would have. I think they both were bringing that, a little bit of how the team dynamic was going to lay out. But overall, I'm okay with this outcome. As much as it sucks to lose last season's female champion that doesn't get to be called champion, but in my book still is. It stinks to lose Nurys, as I said about Kellyanne and everyone else. It stinks to lose all these people, but there's 40 awesome cast members. It stinks to lose all of them. It would be great if we could watch 12 episodes of all 40 people competing. I don't know how the hell that would even be possible or work. And so, yeah, we have to get over it. I'm glad Olivia is still in the house. I think that'll add a lot of interesting storylines. Paulie and Theo, good Lord. I hope Paulie's okay. That was a scary hit in the first round. Again, this is why I'd be pretty terrified and probably almost not willing, not willing really to do a Hall Brawl in all honesty, because of hits like this. When he says online, I got 2 concussions during this, I hope he's not correct. But he certainly might be. I mean, that first round, certainly like that did not look good. Why don't they wear actual football helmets instead of these like bike helmets? I don't know. I don't think the bike helmet is doing as much good. It's doing some good. It's not doing as much, I think, as the football helmet would do. But yeah, they delivered the brutality that most want from a Hall Brawl. That is for sure. It's a huge win for Theo. An early payoff of his Tyler Duckworth-esque strategy of once upon a time, I was a phenomenal athlete. And now I've gained 30 pounds and I'm still an awesome athlete. No longer phenomenal, but still pretty awesome. But now I weigh 30 more pounds. Good luck if size comes into play, beating me in anything. And because the little extra weight he's carrying now versus his first couple seasons on the show, certainly, while they weren't the difference in this, I think they made this an incredible uphill battle for Paulie, because all of those sharing the clips from Paulie on War of the Worlds, I think it was 1 or maybe 2, when Theo did the Hall Brawl with Kyle. And, and Paulie says in it, like, maybe, he's a great athlete, but maybe those muscles are for show or whatever the clip is. There's been a couple of them of him talking about Theo in the past, and then put next to then him getting run over. And I get it. It's funny. It's all good internet fun. But he wasn't kidding in those clips that, Theo on War of the Worlds 1 and 2 was still phenomenal athlete, absolutely dominant at times on those seasons, but was very lean, still the track star version of that. And that I would guess 30 pounds or more lighter at that time. So the idea that Paulie could beat that Theo is realistic to me, where there's still the height advantage, but not necessarily the bulk and the size and the weight discrepancy. But this version, he never really had a chance. And I'm taking Theo over most people in the house right now. And I'm thrilled that Theo's back. He is an amazing cast member. I love having Theo in the house. But please just put Paulie in the next challenge house right now, wherever that's going to be for 41 or USA 3 or whatever you film next. Just go put him there and be like, hey, it might be a few months till the rest of the cast arrives, but like, you're here because we need Paulie on the challenge. We need more of it. His comeback here has been super short on USA 2 and now here, and we need more of him. And so just go put him in the next house. Final thing before we go to the rest, I forgot to mention this in the agenda, but the karma points twist. We learn at the end, TJ tells all the people to leave with the losers still there. Everyone's like, what the hell? This is backwards. Normally they leave, then we leave. And they think they know something's going on. And we find out that everyone who has been eliminated gets to vote 1 to 5 for every player in the game, award them between 1 and 5 points based off karma, their karma points. And essentially it is based off, do you like this person or not? It doesn't seem that many, if any, are maybe going to lean towards the, what do I think? I take that back. Brad for sure is going to be like, how good do I think they are at the game, and not let too many emotions get into it. Everyone else is just going to be, who do I like and who do I not like? They get 5 points, they get 1 point or 0, or whatever they're actually allowed to give. And I really hope this does not matter at all. I hope that, everyone voting you 1 to 5 ends up having almost no impact on who wins the season, because I don't want it to have impact on who wins the season. I don't want having the most friendships to be the goal in the challenge house, to be something that super aids you in the game. I don't like that. I don't like really anything about this twist at all. I think every vote's going to be based off friendship or an alliance, not who's a good challenge player. I want the best challenge player to win the season. And the more convoluted the season, the worse they get, is not even a theory. That's how I feel about the seasons. And I think the evidence is clearly there that more often than not, if the format gets wonky and convoluted and you add a bunch of elements to it, that season suffers because of it. It is rare that it is boosted because of it. And I am extremely nervous about what this actually is and how this is going to play out and how much of an impact this will ultimately have later in the game. I'm really, really hoping somehow it's not related to the final. And even if it means someone getting to or not getting to the final, if it could just be brought to bear before that takes place, maybe there's like one final purge daily at the end, pre-final, that he announces, these are your points, this thing's been going on, and based on these points is how you'll start today's purge final. I won't love it, but I'd rather that than having that same scenario in a final, anything of that nature. So that's my thoughts on the karma points twist and what we know about it so far. As for the awards, best quote, I watched this episode broken out a little on the plane while it kind of worked, and then late at night at home in bed, and then the rest this morning. So needless to say, didn't really take the best notes. So there's not going to be a best quote winner this week, or an actual quote winner. I'm going to give the award to Tina because I know I loved her confessionals throughout the episode a lot. So she can have the award. Leave your comments if you're watching on YouTube below what the best quote should have been, so that I can go back and maybe fill in the notes and select a winner for the end of season award category. But Tina gets the award for the best confessionals of the episode. Definitely liked those. Best moment, Amanda going off on Corey and everyone just kind of watching and smiling and reveling and like, this is fun. Amanda's fun to have around for this, like that. Amanda scoring that first point, that was definitely like, oh shit, okay, like this is interesting here moment. So liked that a lot. Katie putting Anissa in a chokehold very briefly, but the still frame shot is still there. Every conversation where someone stands in a window talking down to the dining room, I just love this aspect that everyone is always watching the conversations happening, and then conversations happen from up high, down low. It's just a really great setup in the house. Nurys telling Horacio they need to get married and have kids. Fun. Definitely great. moving pretty quick there, and I'm all for it. I think everyone's all for it. You go do that, and hopefully be on the many more seasons of the challenge to come. Theo rocking Paulie's world, of course, is definitely a big moment. And then Cara and CT being buddies, that moment between them, him trying to get her pumped back up in the right headspace, their relationship, all of that. All of those are your nominees for the best moment. Cara and CT get the win for me. And then the MVP of the episode, top 5 here. Kellyanne Psychic comes in at 5th. Definitely getting a big paycheck and a big spotlight in this episode for Kellyanne Psychic. TJ, 4th place. TJ had to explain a lot of rules. I know they all have played these games before, but he still had to explain the rules to 4 different games and do a hell of a lot of work here in the arena. So shout out to TJ. 3rd place, Theo and Paulie, delivering everything we could have asked for in the nomination last week and the actual elimination this week. 2nd place, Amanda goes out with the 2nd place MVP. 1st place, we got to give it to Cara Maria. So those are your awards for episode number 2. As for predictions, we got 6 out of 8 right last week. Brandon and Leroy were the 2. I had picked Brandon over Ryan, and I picked Leroy over Tony. Those were the 2 I got wrong, but I got the other 6 right, so I feel pretty good about that. Prediction for next week is that we get a regular team daily with the losing team putting 2 people in, the winning team picking 2 people from any other team, having an elimination between those, and then the little clip we see. There was like a new trailer at the end of this episode that alluded to a lot. I watched it the first time and I've not gone back, and I'm not going to go back. I do not want to do too deep of a breakdown of that because I do think it'll be super spoiler heavy if you really, really want to break it down. So to each their own. If you want to go do that, I'm not going to with this one the way I did with some before. And but we do get at the very end of the episode, when they're going through some of the karma points and all that, that next week they will reveal the target situation, that there is going to be targets placed, and it seems like it'll be the winners of elimination get to put targets on someone, and that is not a good, it's like a team captain-esque type thing. We don't know all the details yet, but I believe we will get those details next week, or maybe a cliffhanger about it next week and start the following week with it. I'm not sure, but I think next week we at least get regular team daily challenge, which I really look forward to. I want to see just a true 4 teams of 8 doing a crazy wild challenge together. It sounds like a good time, and I will predict that Era 3 will win that daily challenge behind. I think Era 3 is going to be secretly kind of hard to beat because I think, given the dynamics of that team, Jordan, Tori, and Devin will be able to kind of be like, we're in charge here during the dailies. And, Jordan can bark out orders if it's something physical. Devin can bark out orders if it's something mental or we need strategy. And like people will like listen in the moment, even if they're begrudging about it later on or anything. And so I like that little trio can maybe pull the power of their team. And I like Era 3 to win the first team daily. So that's what I got predictions for next week. Looking fine so far on our season-long predictions, finalists and winners, and all of that. 8 cuts in. So that's episode 2, Battle of the Airs. We'll be back next week again, Wednesday night. After the episode, we'll record to get it published that night. So you'll have it first thing Thursday morning. Thank you to everyone for watching, subscribing, reviewing, all of that good stuff, all the comments, DMs, as always. Challenge Historian on Instagram are open if you want to chat. And again, if you're going to Challenge Mania Chicago a week from this Saturday, definitely let me know in advance and we can say what's up. Until then, peace.